Welcome to A View to a Grill. I'm Johnny. Today we're going to go over 3 smoking configurations for the Weber kettle. Our first setup is going to be the parallel indirect method on the Weber kettle. A lot of times you hear folks say that Weber put its thermometer in the wrong spot. Well, that is true when you're going to do indirect smoking or use the slow and sear. But Weber intended the kettle to be used in this configuration when smoking. That's why it has the 2 little flappy doors on both sides of the grill. One of the nice things about this setup is you get to use the actual baskets that Weber kettle came with. We're going to start out by putting one basket on the left and the other basket on the right. And that's going to have them parallel to each other on opposite sides of the grill. You're going to be using about 1 Weber chimney starter to fill these baskets up. I'll just get both of them filled in, and then I'll rearrange the coals just to make sure that there are no voids from pouring that coal directly into the baskets. We're also going to make these little spaces at the top of each one of the baskets. This is where our lit charcoal is going to go. Now once I have those spaces at the top of each of those baskets and the charcoal is lit, I'll just use my tongs to gently place about 6 to 8 lit charcoals in each basket. And when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. And by the way, how do you like my lit charcoal training aids? I painted them myself. Now once our charcoal is in, we can then add our wood, and that's going to give us that extra smoke that the briquettes simply can't provide. Just place 1 in each basket, and when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Another nice thing about this configuration is that you can put a drip pan in between the 2 baskets, and that'll help you keep your grill clean. If you don't have a reusable drip pan like I do, Weber actually sells its own brand of disposable drip pans that you can use, and you can find these on the Weber website. But I also think I bought these from Home Depot. And then once you place your drip pan in, you should have something that looks like this. This is an aftermarket grill grate, but the Weber grill grates have these doors on the side, and that's where you have access to the baskets in case you need to add more charcoal. Once you have everything set up, you can take your rack of ribs or your pork roast or brisket and then place that right in between the 2 baskets, and that is your indirect cooking that you're going to be using for this configuration. Now notice that the vent, the handle, and the thermometer are all aligned with the protein under it. Looking at the rack of ribs on there, you can see that the thermometer is not over the direct heat. So in this configuration, the thermometer is not useless. This is the way Weber intended you to smoke on their kettle. Let's get all this taken apart so that we can talk about the next configuration for smoking on the Weber kettle. This is my indirect method for smoking on the Weber kettle, and we're going to use those baskets again, but this time we're not going to fill them in. We're going to actually use those baskets to create 2-zone cooking area in the Weber kettle. The area right here on the right, we're going to fill that in with charcoal, and the area on the left is going to be our indirect side. Now using this method really gives you a long cook time. I've cooked a 10 to 12 pound brisket without having to refill using this method. The first thing I'm going to do is pour in a full chimney starter of briquettes. I want to move the briquettes around a little bit just to make sure I get them in there nice and tight. I don't want any voids in the briquettes. I want a nice even flow of heat from one side to the other. Next, I'll add my wood chunks right on top of that. Now once I get my briquettes and my wood in where I want them, it's time to put in a second full chimney starter. Now on the second chimney starter, I didn't pour it all in. I actually left, I don't know, 16, 18 coals in there, and that's what I'm going to light up to get started with. Now notice I left a empty space here at the top. That's where my lit charcoal is going to go. And if we want to use a drip pan, you can place that drip pan right on top of the unfilled baskets. Now we'll get our lit charcoal and pour it right into that empty space we left. You may have to rearrange them a little bit just so that we can get our grate back on. Now with everything put back together, this is what it's going to look like when you put your meat on. As you can see here, I have a pork butt and it is on the indirect side directly over my drip pan. Now for this configuration, to get an accurate temperature, you're going to need an aftermarket thermometer. And I have that set up between the heat and the meat. The heat is going to be cascading from the right hand side over the top and right over our protein and then right out the vent. The reason why you're going to need an aftermarket thermometer is because our Weber thermometer is now over the heat and it's not going to be accurate, which renders the Weber thermometer useless. Our next setup for smoking on the Weber kettle is going to be a Kamado style of smoking. For this setup, I use 4 baskets and I just kind of stack one into another, having 2 stacks of baskets. I'll put them in the Weber kettle parallel and across from each other. Next, I'll get a filled chimney starter and pour that right in between the 2 sets of baskets. After that, I'll get my wood and arrange the wood to the way I want it. And once you've done that, it should look something like this. Finally, I'll get another filled Weber chimney starter and pour that right on top. I'll move the charcoal around just to make sure that there are no voids and that one charcoal will easily light the charcoal it's next to. I'll then create an empty spot right in the middle of our charcoal bed, and that's where we're going to put our lit charcoal. Once our charcoal is lit, we'll get that poured right in that space we reserved. And you should have something that looks like this. Next, I'll get my sear plate and use that as our heat deflector, and that's what's setting this up as a Kamado style of cooking. If you don't have a heat deflector, I bought this one from Golden's Cast Iron. You can either do a search or use the link below. It has a little over 16 inches of space, and you can also use this to make smash burgers because that's what I use it for as well. It works out really great and it's very handy to have around. Your sear plate is in, and now you can either set the grill grates directly on top of that and then your drip pan, as I'm showing you here, and then just use a little rack and put that right in your drip pan and your meat right on top of that. Now, I like to do that because that gives me direct access to my drip pan if I need it. Otherwise, you can put your drip pan directly on top of the sear plate and then put your grates directly on top of your drip pan. And your drip pan may be supporting the grill grates, not much, just a little bit, and this way works out just as well. For this setup, you're also going to need an aftermarket thermometer to get the most accurate temperature next to your protein. And there you have it, 3 different setups for smoking on your Weber kettle. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, why not? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching a view to a grill. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, y'all.